Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of Chiming with Jaleesa, and I'm so excited to have all of you here. All of my returners, all of my new faces, all of the new friends. So if you are new here, and some of my returners, I need you guys to jump over to the YouTube that is linked in the description and subscribe. Maybe throw a little comment on a video, show a little love for your girl. But I would really appreciate it. All of your guys' support so far has been incredible and encouraging, and it makes me really excited to do my podcast every other week. Set my schedule every other week. Today, before we get into the content, I was gonna say the meat of the video, but it sounded weird. Before we get into my content, I really just want to give you guys like a little life update, because everything is kind of overwhelming and chaotic, and I'm a little bit stressed out, mainly because I graduate in 10 days. That's not the reason I'm stressed out. The reason I'm stressed out is because I have a couple more assignments. I don't have a job lined up yet, and I don't really know what comes next, and everybody's asking me what comes next, and they don't like when I just shrug my shoulders at them. So that's why I've been feeling a little bit stressed out. Today is a little bit of a lower vibe, not even vibe, a lower energy kind of day. It's super overcast outside, but it's giving me incredible lighting, so I'm not really gonna complain. My coffee doesn't taste the way I want it to. I dropped a bunch of stuff in my sink full of water like 30 minutes ago, and it stressed me out, but I'm on track to eating 3 meals today, so that's a win. But in addition to graduating in 10 days, I have 2 more assignments, a little bit lengthy if I'm being honest, and I don't like doing assignments. If you guys know me, I'm not a big fan of schoolwork. Give me a presentation, give me a video assignment we have to do, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. When it comes to writing 10-page papers, I'm not a fan, and I'm not amused, but 'tis the life of a grad student. And again, before we get into the content, congratulations to everybody out there watching who is graduating. I am so proud of you, because we made it. Life has lifed us real hard the past couple years, but we did it anyway. We have survived, we thrived, we're live, laugh, loving. I had to. But again, with all of these emotions, all these events coming up, we can feel a bit of various emotions. I have 5 that are on my paper, but like in my head, that are like very prominent, and they can pull out like crazy reactions out of us. So I kind of want to go over, or at least let you guys know the way that I try to self-regulate when these emotions come up and they're so aggressive, or they are very like debilitating almost. Because as humans who are growing and learning, as much as it is okay to feel these things and react because we're just human, it is really important to know how to self-regulate and, be very aware of who you're around, what your words are coming out as, and like how other people are taking them, because a lot of it is based on your tone, body language. There's a third thing that I don't remember, but here we go. So the first one's anger. This one's first just because it is so prominent within all of us. I know I used to be very, very short fused. Like I would snap in an instant. And again, you're allowed to feel these things, but you don't get to be naive or irresponsible for putting that emotion out. You can feel it, you can express it, but you also have to take accountability for it. So when you're angry, the most important thing, in my opinion, is to be slow to speak. A lot of us, like, we hear something, it sets off that like trigger of, okay, now I'm mad, and a lot of the time we sit there and we just snap. We get mad, we yell, we say things we might not mean, and that's just because we're so quick to say something. We become very defensive. That's just in our nature as humans. But when you are a little bit slower to speak, you pause, you take a breath, and you really analyze or really think about what that other person said or the situation that is happening, you give yourself the time to react a little bit more rationally. When I say this, I'll give an example of both things that I've done. The first one being how I have just snapped on people in the past, and then the second one being how I try to adjust that now or self-regulate that now. So in the past, there was a situation with a coach of mine, actually. Now that I was sitting there thinking of a couple different stories, but I had a coach tell me at some point in my life and in my history of being an athlete that I'm not cut out to be there. Like, I wasn't good enough. And they told me, like, oh, like, you just don't have the build for it. You don't have the right mentality. You don't have these things. Now, mind you, I was always the athlete that even if I wasn't good at something, I'm going to try. I'm going to put everything I have in it because I'm there and I'm putting my time towards this thing. And so when I just got accused of not being good at something, because of my predisposition of the way I'm built, it pissed me off. And I snapped. And I said, oh, so you're telling me you can't be a good coach? You just don't know how to appeal to your athletes? What other kind of coach is so encouraging like this? I was very sarcastic. I was very quick to just be angry because I was like, why would you say that to me? Like, one, I was a teenager. Not gonna tell you guys what time, or what age, what time. I'm not gonna tell you guys the age just because it'll give hints, and I'm not telling you guys this story to like throw people under the bus. I'm telling you guys what happened. And I was basically told, you're not good enough to be a 400er. You just don't have it. And of course, so that made me angry. And I was like, one, you're a coach, so you're meant to encourage me. Yes, you can give feedback, but you're not meant to tear me down as a person. And as a lot of us know, when we're growing up, especially while we're teenagers, that is some of the heaviest influence other people have on us. So what that coach didn't realize was him saying that to me really affected, how I viewed myself. I lost a lot of confidence. I started to question my ability as an athlete, even though, again, I've worked hard my entire life. I wouldn't have even got to where I was without working hard. So I was like, you're wrong, you don't know me, clearly you don't care to get to know me. And so I did snap on this coach, and I was like, you're not directly my coach anyway, why don't you talk to so-and-so? That's who I had this beginning conversation with anyway. Like, you were not a part of that conversation. You don't even care to try and coach me. Like I said, I was very angry. I said some choice words. And now, like I said, I'm a lot slower to speak because sometimes, even if somebody means something maliciously, it is not your job to fix it for them. It's not your job to tell them, like, you need to be a better person. They should be a better person, and somebody should let them know. But whatever they say to you, especially if it is malicious, like, you gotta take it with a grain of salt. It sucks, it's hard, and some days it feels impossible, but if you let every negative thing affect you so deeply, you're gonna be hurting 10 times more than they are, because chances are they'll forget after a couple days that they even said that to you. I guarantee you now, a couple of the coaches that have said very mean things to me in my athletic years, I have no idea that it affected me the way it did. They have no idea that I still think about it to this day. And it's not their job to, because I got over it. I came to terms with how I feel about it. I know that a lot of their words were untrue because they didn't know me as a person, and they clearly didn't see the effort I was putting in. But their words do not define me. Their idea of who I am in their head is not me. I get to be my own person regardless of what anybody else says. But like I said, you can be a lot slower to just react. One of the more recent things that has happened, this person wasn't necessarily angry with me, but I got angry because I was in a learning space. I was in a very, very much like a learning environment, and this person basically said, like, you're doing this wrong, you need to fix it, but they weren't telling me how to fix it at the time. And so I was getting angry because I was like, I want to do a good job. I'm not purposely here to mess stuff up, but you're not helping me, and that's causing issues for me. And so I got really mad. I didn't even snap at the person. I like stayed quiet during the interaction, and I left, and I like let it all out to my friend. And I was like, this is how I feel, and like I hate being here sometimes because nobody cares about like actual growth. And I went on to this whole tangent, but then I like paused in the middle. Is there an apocalypse happening outside? Okay. We're just gonna pretend that the apocalypse is not happening. I don't even know if you guys can hear it. But halfway through my tangent to my friend, I realized, I was like, I'm not angry with this person. I'm not angry with myself. I am simply confused. And it let me, taking that pause, taking that moment to really feel, like think about how I felt in that moment with the conversation I had with that person compared to post-conversation thinking it through with my friend. I was like, I'm not even mad. I'm just frustrated because I want to do better. And like I said, taking that moment to pause let me think that through. So like I said, the emotion I was really feeling was frustration, not anger. And I had the time to not snap on somebody because I was slow to speak. The next one I want to talk about is being overwhelmed, and this one hits a little harder because I'm very overwhelmed at the current moment in time. So I learned this technique back in high school in a class called AVID. It was basically college prep stuff, and I'm going to talk about it in the space of like homework and stuff first, since like I said, a lot of us are in the middle of finals and assignments, tests, studying. That can all seem super overwhelming right now. So take everything that you have to do for the next however long, so mine would be the next 10 days, list it all out. Get everything you can think of that you have to do, get it out. Now this next part depends completely on you as a person. For me, I will explain to you guys kind of my thoughts behind this. So typically your first thing that you're going to tackle depends on like time priority, the length of the assignment, and the difficulty of the assignment. For me, I do the hardest / assignment that I hate, or I do the assignment that I hate / is the hardest first, because if I try to put it off till the end or like in the middle somewhere, I'm not going to do it, and I'm going to like try to move on, and then the assignment doesn't get done. A lot of people do the assignment that takes the longest because you might as well get it out of the way. So people obviously, and then like I said, you have to keep in mind when things are due. So if I have my 10-page paper and I have the rest of my group project, whereas I really don't want to do this paper, I have more time to do it. My group assignment needs to be done sooner, and obviously I have an obligation to the rest of my group mates. I don't know. I don't know where that just came from. I have an obligation to them to like get my part done, and it's only right. So for me right now, the priority is to get that assignment done, and then I can move on to my other one for sport law. I'm so excited. And then again, you progress down the rest of your list as needed. Like I said, typically it's based on the due date and how long it is. So if you have super short assignments that aren't due until like the 9th, you've got a little bit more time to get those lengthier ones done, or the ones that demand your attention first. When it comes to just like life in general, so for me, some things that kind of have not a timeline, but like importance to them that I need to start thinking about and can get very overwhelmed with is finding a job. And obviously that comes first. Finding out where I'm going to live next, because my lease is up in July. I need to figure out when I'm going home to celebrate my graduation. There's a lot of things I need to do, and some of them have a little bit more priority because of how soon that they're coming up. And then some of them I have a little bit more time on. The next thing is being insecure. I think this is really important to be able to self-regulate, because looking for praise and admiration from others is not fulfilling. It's nice in the moment and it feels really good, but you can't base your self-confidence, your self-worth in other people, because that puts way too much power in other people's hands and not enough in your own. So when you get insecure, something I like to do is list out the things that I love about myself, things that I am grateful for. And before anybody gets crazy about this, I do not mean appearance-wise. Oh, I really like my hair on April 28th. Oh, I really think my outfit's cute today. No, I mean like deep stuff about you that you are so appreciative of. For me, I'm proud of my resiliency. I overcome adversity time and time again, and whereas I used to let it like fully bring me down and I used to be in the mud, I have seen myself grow. And literally, like, I talk about seeing myself grow. Like, I can look back at videos, pictures, assignments even, and I'm like, dang, I've come a long way. I get really, really proud of my compassion towards other people. I think that the way that I am able to interact and, empathize with other people is incredible. Like I said, list out things that go beyond surface level. Because once you start listing these things out, and on top of that, don't sit there and think it's going to take 20 minutes. If it does, cool, great. Don't put a timeline on yourself for listing things out. Maybe you sit there and you come back to it after a day and you're like, oh, like I've started to think of some things because I've been more aware of how I'm interacting with people. Don't be afraid to like really sit with yourself to figure some of this stuff out, because if you don't sit with yourself and get to know you, how are you going to expect other people to want to do the same? The next two things are also super huge for me right now. It is starting with rejection. There are ways to self-regulate rejection. It sucks, it hurts, and it's not always the easiest to move on from, but you can't let that feeling consume you. Rejection isn't forever. You're not going to get a rejection letter from a school, rejection notice from a job, application or whatever, and you're like, oh, well, I'm going to be a failure for the rest of my life. Like, that's not legit. Like, that's not real. There's something to move on to next. Like, people say when one door closes, the other's open, or... In my head, I was gonna say a window opens, but don't do that. But opportunities will present themselves to you when you put yourself in the right space, mentally, physically, emotionally. You will see things begin to open up for you. I remember when I graduated with my bachelor's, I applied to about 6 jobs, got rejected from all of them because they said I wasn't qualified enough. Well, no duh. You guys, this is an entry-level position and you're asking for 6 years of experience. I'm 22, there's not a chance. But I originally took it to heart. I was like, dang, like I'm not good at anything if I keep getting rejected. But then I really sat there with myself and I'm like, okay, this opened an opportunity for me to go get experience somewhere. This gives me the opportunity, okay, it looks like I'm going to grad school. But it gives me the chance to build upon my skills, my experience, and it opens up network opportunities. It opens up different connections and even a different pathway to what you want to do in life. Like I said, when I first graduated, I was like, oh, sport management, it's a solid degree in the industry. Like I can go do anything. That was the problem. I could go do anything. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And you're most fulfilled when you're doing what you're passionate towards. And so grad school gave me that opportunity. And now I have other opportunities, not only with the network I've built, but just the skill set I have developed puts me in a lot of different spaces for a lot of different roles. That rejection that I got, it sucked, it hurt, made me feel like I was trash for a moment, but then it also gave me the opportunity to come to terms with growing and finding out what I really wanted to do. The last emotion that I really want to talk to you guys about self-regulating is being discouraged. This kind of goes hand in hand with rejection, because like I said, you sit there and you feel down in the dumps a little bit and you're like, dang, I really thought I was, going places. I thought I would get this job for sure and I would move on and all this stuff. But being discouraged only kind of reminds you of your dream. It reminds you why you were doing all of this in the first place. And like I said, with rejection, it's not the end. Being discouraged doesn't mean your life is over and there's nothing you can do successfully. It just means there's another avenue for you to go down. There's a different way for you to pivot and turn that rejection, that discouragement into something worth doing and something that you actually want to do. I think that's my biggest thing toward you guys and myself always, is that you don't want to just do something to do it. Yes, having